everyone, and welcome to the Get Real podcast. We are so lucky today because we have a special guest with us, John, and he's going to tell us a little bit about his companies that he runs, and he's also a real estate agent. So he knows, just like we do, and more because he's here to share all that awesomeness today. And I'm super excited because we are going to be talking about one of my favorite things, which is podcasting. And I'm so excited to dive right into it. John, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you currently do with your businesses?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been operating businesses and I'm like a practitioner, and I've been doing that since the age of 15, believe it or not.
Wow.
Not to say that I didn't have a job, they just never really lasted. They served a purpose. Once they served the purpose, they kind of went out the door. So, I mean, obviously, I'm self-started that way. So, like currently, I have three things on the go. Two of them are interchangeable. I am the founder creator of the Investors Outlook Group, which is a real estate team. As you mentioned, I'm an agent, and then intertwined with that is my Papilloni Capital, which is about real estate investments. I help investors to get new properties with me where they can do joint ventures with myself. And that's just an opportunity for somebody who has down payments, but they are not able to secure the mortgage, but still want to be involved in the real estate market versus, investing in other things. So it's an avenue for somebody to get into. And then we have Papilloni Media, which was kind of a creation that I did because it was actually feeding myself. I created a media crew that was really following me around for my real estate business. And what ended up happening is I thought, okay, well, I already have the crew. I already have the equipment. I invested in like 30K worth of studio equipment for this, and
Wow.
I thought rather than just having you sit there and follow me once in a while, why don't I offer this as a service and help other people build their brands? And that's where Papal Media was created. So it's designated to help other people build their brands and strategies in the real estate market.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And I know, from our conversation previously that one of well, three of the really big things that we want to talk to today with the real estate agents is why real estate agents should create a podcast and how, you help real estate agents do that and guide them in that. And the next thing is about content creation and how you do a lot of really unique things when it comes to content creation and how you multi-purpose, repurpose things. And then the third thing that I really want to, dive into a little bit later on is, what you just talked about with like the investments and being a serial entrepreneur and your companies that you run is the end goal for most real estate agents that they don't even think about is getting out of production at some point, right?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly it, right? So I love that, and I can definitely get into that.
Okay, awesome. I'm so excited, and that's something that people really really need to focus on. But let's start at the beginning because I know that I have several people in the group who I have talked to who are really interested in learning more about starting a podcast. So if you can talk a little bit about that and especially like why they should, because I think a lot of real estate agents are like, what am I going to talk about and how is that going to get me real estate leads in my area?
Absolutely. Right. Look, I love podcasting. It is a great opportunity to build into content. See, a lot of people out there want to do video, but they're afraid. And like, it's the one thing that I always say that I know you may not like what you see in the mirror, but that's you. And that's okay. Right. So, but getting into video creation, as an example, just getting into videos might be scary and it might hold people back, and they may not do it for that reason. So, what you can do is start off with an audio podcast. And by creating that audio podcast, you're getting your voice out there already. And then you get used to being on audio. Then eventually you can take the next step and then turn on the video camera, but you don't have to use it because people only know about your audio. So you get used
Right.
to being on camera without people seeing you. Then it
Oh, I
builds up
love
a
that.
foundation so that at some point in time you become comfortable and you're just used to being on camera. And
Yeah.
used to being on camera, then you flip the switch and put it on YouTube. So you're sort of like building yourself up to that, but still getting your message out there until you're ready to build it up versus waiting for one day that you might be ready, and that day usually never comes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I love that so much. That's such a great idea to just work up to it and stuff because obviously just talking and stuff, especially as real estate agents, I mean, nobody should have a hard time with that, right?
Yeah, exactly, right? Look, we're on our phones all day, and if you're
Yep.
not on your phones all day, you should be, right? It's what it
Right.
comes down to. So, and that's how it started for me, right? Like it was all about audio. I didn't even consider the camera, right? Like it was one of those things. I started on audio. I had a big following on audio. Like my audio things, I get about 10,000 people a month on the audio. Like my videos, like if people look at my old videos, my first few, they sucked, right? Like it really stank. And then eventually I got energized and the video started looking better, but it was still just solo conversation, kind of boring.
Right.
Then it progressed from there. So now it's at the point that it's charged. You see different camera views. You see all different things happening, different topics, and it builds over time, right? It's not something that's going to happen overnight. Now, the other benefit of doing podcasts is you're able to get into it, and you just say you do a 30-minute segment because you don't need to do more than 30 minutes. Talk about the stuff you know. Don't make it
Yeah.
up. Like just talk about the stuff you know. It doesn't even always have to be about real estate. It could be, even things that are going on around you.
Mhm.
Like it could be interview local businesses. That's an opportunity too, because then people
Yeah.
in the community get to know you because you're always there. You're interviewing people. They get to know that place and they know that you're the one who's interviewing that person. And chances are that local business that you interviewed, they're going to push out your stuff as well because they're going to want their people to hear it. So what ends up
Yeah.
happening is now you're building a foundation of credibility. And with that, you can take those snippets. If you're just doing audio, which you can do, you can take a snippet, like a 1 or 2 minute snippet of audio, put a picture of yourself and have the audio playing in the background. There's so many apps out there that you can get with your phone and do it. You don't even need
Right.
professional apps. You can do it through your phone where they will allow you to put that 2 minute audio clip behind that picture of yours. And you can put that on Instagram. So now people see your picture. And if they're listening to the audio, which you probably do transcripting as well eventually, which will write it out so people can hear that. And then they can read it or they can listen to it.
Mhm.
So you get used to doing the audio that way until you're ready to flip for the camera. Now, here's the other thing. Like I said, when you're doing a podcast, you could be recording video and audio at the same time. You don't have to use the video for the podcast. You can do the audio. Another thing you could do is turn on the video for the 2 minute clips. Use that video where you would have cut it for the audio, cut out the video. So now you only have 2 minutes of yourself on Instagram, right? And you can use that and create a link to your podcast if people want to hear the full episode. So that's just
Right.
one form of creating content with the podcasts. Now I find one 30-minute, podcast can transcribe to about 8 to 12 pieces of content that you can use throughout the week.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
So that's
And I think that, a lot of real estate agents are probably, wondering, what type of, what they would talk about and stuff. And you touched base on, interviewing local businesses, but, local vendors and stuff too would be really good and helpful.
absolutely, absolutely. Like whether you find a mortgage broker, a stager,
Hmm.
a home inspector, there's so many opportunities just by talking to other people. And
Yeah.
the benefit of talking to other people is people like to hear themselves speak. So if you're nervous to be on the podcast, you just got to come up with the questions in advance and then ask them, and they'll do all the talking, but you'll look like the hero.
So true.
Right? So
And I think too is like, coming up with content and stuff for the agents and stuff. I mean, they could really use anything that they typically send out in emails or they're posting on social media, their market updates, their, buyer information, seller information, and just turn that into, that short podcast episode.
exactly. Another thing that I do, and is possible, when you're talking to existing clients and they have questions, I record our phone conversations. And the reason I record it is so I remember the questions and remember what I
Mhm.
said about it. At that point in time, I could take that question that client asked me and turn it into a general question that I
Right.
can answer on video in a 1 or 2 minute clip or segment that I can use that to share as well. So that's an opportunity as well where you can, you don't even have to come up with the content because your clients are like, you're talking to people every day. They have questions,
Yeah, exactly.
right? So just use their questions and take out the personal part. So it's not about them and just make it
Mhm.
a generic question where so you can give an answer to it so that other people don't know it's your client that you're answering. And yeah, look, I even have a segment every Monday called Minute Mondays, which is like an inspirational thing every Monday. It's about personal development and
Mhm.
inspiration. And that's just to showcase a little bit about who I am. So it's not just about real estate. And I
Right.
have another one called Market Tuesday, which is another 1 to 4 minute clip about what's going on in the current market, what's happening, the latest news, right? Like the one thing you want to do is establish yourself authentically and you want to be different than everybody else,
Right.
right? Like here's an example. Interest rates go up, whether it's the Bank of Canada, Bank of America, they announce interest rates, and you already know that by the time the news report ends, there's about 30 clips on Instagram talking about the interest rates. It's Bank of Canada raised the interest rate. What does this mean? Bank of America raised whatever. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, is the world coming to an end? Right? Like you're gonna see that. So you don't
Yeah.
need to be another one of those storytellers that goes to let everybody know that the interest rate went up. They already know. They saw it 16, 17 times. But what you can do is instead of telling them that the interest rate went up, tell them how that affects their property and how it
Yeah.
affects their home search and what they can do to prepare for the changes that's come about from this change. And that'll make
Right.
you different versus just, breaking news. Everyone has breaking news. Right?
Right.
You can give out the same information, but talk about what people care about,
Yeah.
which is how it affects them. And that makes you
Exactly.
different.
Right. And it shows your personality and it makes you, that local celebrity so that people want to come to you. You're the one that has all the information.
Exactly. You want to become the knowledge broker. That's what it comes down to. Now,
Oh, I
look,
love
I've
that.
been into this podcast for about 3 years now. It's got to the point that in my local area, I can go to grocery stores, to coffee shops, pretty much anywhere, and I get recognized by someone I've never met 3 to 4 times a week on average.
Wow.
And that's through consistency. Now, the first 6 months,
Yeah.
you're going to feel like you're wasting your time, right? The first 6 months, you might be lucky if you got 500 downloads in the first 6 months, and you're like going, okay, all this for 500 people, and that's like what a waste, right? Or at least that's how it feels. It's always
Yeah.
that moment you feel like I give up. This is a waste of my time. Is when it starts getting growing, right? And sometimes you also have to pay attention to what's going on and alter it, right? Like your problem could be even your titles, right? Like prime example, interest rate increase is important to me. Other people won't find that important and won't go high on the algorithm, so you won't be found. But there's
Right.
ways that you can go out there and figure out what are people searching for, and you can look that up in Google and find out the most common titles, and you can have your own version of that title inside there because it's still about the interest rate, it's still about whatever you're talking about, but it's the common thread of what people are searching for, so you'll
Right.
show up in that thread. And that could be the difference on how you go from 500 people to now all of a sudden you're like 2,000 people and 3,000
Wow.
people. And it's just built up over time. Now I use a little cheat that's something new now that I didn't do before because before it took a long time to learn all this. I use something called Chat GPT, and a lot of time what you can do is go into Chat GPT and type in the title the way you would type it. And
Mhm.
like prime example, we'll use YouTube. I'll write create a viral title for. Then I would type the title that I want to put in, and Chat GPT will do the research for you and give you the titles that you should use instead. And immediately my views went up by I would say by 250% the minute I started using that.
And that's similar to, the other company, Jarvis, right?
I believe so. Like
I think it was
ChatGPT is
called
very new.
something else, but now it's Jarvis.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah. So it's the same
It's
concept, right?
it's basically, artificial intelligence, right?
Yes, yes, yes. That's
Okay.
exactly right. Like again, even Americans can use TubeBuddy. It doesn't work in Canada for whatever reason.
Oh, okay. I
But
forgot to mention that, everyone. John is with us today from Canada, and we have several people in the group that are in Canada as well.
nice. So yeah, like again, certain things are work
Mhm.
cross-platform, like ChatGPT or Drive. They'll work, doesn't matter which country you're in.
Yeah.
TubeBuddy is another opportunity.
Mhm.
If you're in the States, that'll work there, and that's
For
an option.
YouTube.
Yeah, but I mean, the titles are almost transferable,
Yeah,
right?
that makes
So
sense.
there might be slight differences, but again, the AI will adjust for you. So instead of create a viral title for YouTube, create a viral title for my podcast. Same concept. It'll come up with a list for you. You can even go as far as getting a short description, put it in there, and I'll rewrite the description too to match SEO. So another thing I learned over time is that writing transcripts or creating closed captions are
Mhm.
very important. Now, what I do is, for example, especially for the 2 3 minute clips, I create a transcript and I put that into the description field. So the closed captions will have that there, and the SEOs can find it a lot easier. And when people search, it'll help that way. The closed captions are important because a lot of times people are at work searching through whether it's TikTok,
Yep.
whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, or whatever, that they're looking at work, but they're watching videos, but they have the sound off.
Yes.
And this is the part to me that mentally I go, this is madness. Why would you want to watch a video with no sound? Like this
I
is
do it all the time. I don't.
this is what I'm saying. It's retarded, but
Yes.
we all do it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like we all do it. What the logic is, I don't know, but it shows us that sometimes we're not logical. We just do what comes natural,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
So and so knowing that is a benefit, right? You can prepare. So that's why closed captions are important. Now, the other
Yeah.
thing you want to do is like, look, right now, like on StreamYard here, we have a wide angle, wide lens. We have lots of space beside me so I can move my hand like an Italian. And but Instagram likes vertical. Now,
Yep.
as long as you're centered, you can go into a program and you can change that, 16 by 9 and make it a 9
Mhm.
by, or yeah, you can make it a 9 by 16 vertical. So you can put that into Instagram and TikTok. So YouTube, you put the wide, Instagram, you put the vertical, and
Mhm.
LinkedIn and Facebook, you can put the wide as well. So the way you set up your video is also based on the platform you're using. So again, it goes back to podcasting. The benefit is you do one piece of content,
Yep.
30 minutes long, and you get so many snippets that you got the content for the rest of the week without doing any extra work. And that saves
And
time.
can you talk a little bit about, what services you offer for helping with all of this? Because I know, that's a big part of your business.
Absolutely, right? Like a lot of times what happens is I'll like prime example, we're recording this podcast episode. So a lot of time I would use my own StreamYard account. I can help you guys record your podcast with somebody and I'll be in the background, nobody would see me. And then I can rotate. So a lot of times what happens is we're side by side. But when I'm doing it when you have someone at the controls, I mean, because if you were
Mhm.
to put us side by side, you'd be looking down, paying attention to the keyboard, not to the guest or not to what you're doing. So
Right.
by having a technician in the background controlling that, what you can do is have a one person, whoever's speaking on the screen, and it rotates and you can keep flip-flopping back and forth so it looks
Mhm.
like a good effect. And that's another thing with video. A lot of times people like changes. If it's the same scenery,
Mhm.
people lose interest at some point. So that gives an option. Now, so I help you with the recording, or I can take your recording and you can record it this way, and then I can create edits, or I can like prime example, if I had a 2 minute tip right now and it was about me, I can cut myself out and keep the audio in the background, so this way you see me speaking without seeing two people on the screen. So it's easier
Mhm.
to fit it on to your platform. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, vertical, there's no way we both fit on this vertical. So by having myself, I can cut it in half like that and I have myself in the picture. Or what I can do is I can cut you out, put you on top or the bottom, doesn't matter which one, and then have
Mhm.
one on top of each other, and that'll be on the Instagram. So it sees both of us, vertically
It's
versus wide. So that's the opportunity. So the bit of cutting that in and out, if there's a lot of ums and ahs, there's ways to take that out as well. So it's just a matter of refining the podcast. And so by using your 30-minute recording, I can give you a refined product for that 30 minutes, as well as I can cut out the snippets for social media and have all the videos prepared for you.
So you do basically producing of podcasts for clients, or either one, and you can also help like edit them afterwards and help with
Correct.
content repurposing.
Absolutely. And now if you're starting out, I can also help you with like a consultation of going through what you would need, how to start out, what way to set it up, and then I can also teach you on how to find guests and prepare for the podcasts.
And are these services, are they priced on your website, or do they have to set up a time with you to talk? They're all customized. How does that work?
Um, I believe I don't know if I put them on the website, to be honest. I can't remember that. But usually, I usually have a conversation. I offer an initial Zoom meet, or if you want to call it that, where we
Mhm.
go through your needs and we could talk about pricing. But my pricing is very standard. Um, Local recordings, as an example, where I recorded it in a studio or at the client's location. I
Mhm.
do a podcast recording for 295, 250 if they purchase 6 in advance. Um, and that's just the recording with the clips and all that. That's in person. Um, in terms of the consultation, if it's set up from start to finish, where I'll help you go as far as not only finding the equipment you need and setting up of the platforms, helping you choose a name, build that brand setting. I charge about 495 for that. Now these are Canadian dollars, so American dollars would be a lot cheaper than that. I believe it's about 30% cheaper.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, so
I thought, American and Canadian money were a little bit closer these days.
no, no,
Really?
yeah. Especially when you do the credit card conversions from Canadian to American. See, if I were to buy American dollars, it's 32,
Mhm.
33%. But going vice
Wow.
versa,
Yeah.
it's only 30% because they charge an admin fee of 2-3% to convert. But it's vice versa where it's going lower, they don't charge it.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
crazy. Of
so
course.
yeah, of course, we gotta pay because we're Canadian. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so, like, I mean, it's very easy to start. It's not complicated. Like, even
Mhm,
for equipment,
mhm.
in all honesty, I got the fancy dancy thing. I mean, I've got my headphones on. You don't need the over-the-ear headphones. You can have AirPods. You don't need the $499 mic. You can work with something like a Rode, like one of those Rode, I forgot the pod mics or whatever. There's the Blue Yetis. To
Oh,
start
yeah.
off, you just want to start off. It's more important.
Just
Like I
do it.
urge you, yeah, I urge you just to start. More important than what you have. Now, once you start in the rhythm and you start seeing it's working for you and you want to get to the next level, then you can work on upgrading. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I spent the 30 because I built the whole studio. Most people wouldn't, and most people don't need that.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I mean,
Yeah.
as a real estate
Definitely.
agent, reality, even if you went on high end, one camera, one mic, and one audio platform like a Rode Podcaster Pro or a Zoom P4 to plug the mic into is all you need. You know what I mean? And your computer, right? Then
Right.
the software is the only repeated expense, right? Like in the software being like StreamYard, where you have to pay that per month, or Zoom, and most people use
Mhm.
Zoom anyway, so you're paying for it regardless.
Right.
You don't need StreamYard to record. You can do it on Zoom. It's just the same thing. Like I use StreamYard because I can go on the platforms live like we are.
Yep.
It depends on what you want. Most agents aren't going to be as sophisticated as we're doing it.
Right.
It's an option, but you don't have to start off that way.
Right, and most people don't. I mean, most people don't start at the beginning. If you go to any famous YouTubers and stuff, and you go back to their original and older videos and stuff, I mean, everybody starts out. I mean, even if they have the best stuff, in 10 years, it's gonna look dated anyways because it is dated.
Exactly, exactly. And that's the thing, right? So now the other thing I want to say in terms of content creation, key
Mhm.
important things is it's easy to be everything for everybody, but it's like normal marketing. The more you niche down, the better you do.
Yeah.
Um, I'm on every platform, but I also have assistants and a team to help me with that. I'm not physically in front of the computer doing it all the day long.
Right.
Um, But when starting out, you're better off to pick your top 2 platforms that you get the most attention on. And for a lack of better description, what you wanna do is you're already popular on these platforms, so you wanna just put light a fire on the gas or put gas on the fire. as they say, right? And you just want to blow that up even more than it already is, versus trying to become big on something you're not even known on. Like if you
Right.
never use TikTok, just to go to TikTok just because people said, "Oh, TikTok is where everybody
Yeah.
is not enough of a reason to go. Now, if you notice you're on Facebook and you used to have 100 people talk to you and you're down to 3 people talking to you, your Facebook has died. You know,
Right.
you can't resurrect a dead duck, right? Like, so you're better off to, at that point in time, saying maybe this is no longer working and it's time to transition.
Yeah.
But at the same time, your top 2 things that are working, where you're getting the most engagement, the most communication, the most DMs, the most likes, the most follows, the most shares, where you're getting the most attention, that's what you want to
Mhm.
focus on.
Right. So you say pick your top 2 platforms?
Yes, absolutely. Again, you can always expand later as you get
Yeah.
bigger, but you have to start somewhere. And if you try to be everything for everybody, you're going to have very little attention anywhere. So you're
Right.
better off to be the best at something than to be mediocre at everything.
And a lot of people shut down when they get overwhelmed and stuff, so that will help with, getting overwhelmed is just focusing on, a smaller social media.
Absolutely. Now, here's the other thing, right? Like I'm talking about equipment and stuff, right? To start off, we have the most important piece of equipment right here,
Yeah.
cell phone.
Yeah.
Just you go to a listing instead of saying, look, let's be honest. Nobody gives a damn about your just sold. Nobody care about your just listed. I mean, you care about it. Your clients who are trying to sell their home care about it, and they think it's important because it's their home. Whether it's important or not, doesn't matter. To them, it's important, but not to the people watching it. I mean,
Right.
let's be honest. I mean, these days, everybody's got access to MLS. It's not the 1980s where the agents were the only ones who had access, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter anymore. People can find their own information and they'll ask for what they don't find. So I'm not saying that not posting it at all is smart, because you still want to remind people that you're an agent,
Right.
but you don't want to be in their face all the time saying buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. At some point in time, people are just going to put the mute button on because they don't want to
Yeah.
hear it anymore. So the point is, you want to go to a house, change your thing. Instead of you're just listed, grab your phone, go in front of the house with the house in the back, start talking about the area and why you love that area, and end it with good news is, if you like the area the way I like the area, you can actually purchase the house behind me because I have it listed today and I have it listed for XYZ, and if you want to see the area and you want to see what this house has to offer, now you can reach out. See, it's a different way of doing the just listed and
Yeah.
making it interesting versus just having some stupid flyer that says just listed.
Yeah, it's totally not as boring as the just listed and just solds, and everybody wants to look at actual houses.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So let them look at the house, but don't just talk about the 4 walls, talk about the area. Why would
Yeah.
somebody want to live there? Right? Because you can't the area, you can't move the area, but you can renovate or build a house anywhere you want. You can't pick up that house in particular, but if you
Right.
have the great house and you hate the area, you're not going to want to live there anyways. So you have to
Right.
have them you have to have them have good reasons to want to live there. And once they decide I want to be in that area, then you got to tell them why you want that house,
Yeah.
right? So it's a different approach. It's the same thing. Now, look, another thing is not no. There's more than one way to skin a cat, right? I know, kind of a weird analogy, but it's a common one.
Yeah.
The thing is that just because something works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and just because it
Right.
works for you doesn't mean it'll work for me. Now, a lot of people look at TikTok. Why do people say I don't want to be on TikTok? Well, I don't want to dance like a monkey. I don't want to look like an idiot. You know what I mean? I don't want to sing. I don't want to lip sing and whatever. And you don't have to.
Right.
Like the message here is be yourself. Some people love that stuff, and that's
Yeah.
okay. That works for them. Doesn't work for me. I don't dance. I'm not going to dance. In fact, to be honest, you're more likely to call me up and say, I'll give you $20 to stop.
Yeah.
Like it's just not me. So
Right.
be true to who you are. Like too many times we see these platforms and think we have to be something different,
Yeah.
right? No, we don't. Be yourself. That's what people want to see. They want to see you, and they
Yeah.
want to be able to relate to you. And I know the common fear out there is going to say, oh, well, people are going to judge me. They're not going to like me. They're not going to, oh, I didn't dress up a certain way. You know what? Here, I'm on a podcast in a friggin' t-shirt. Who cares? Because it's just as important to repel people
Yes,
who do not align with your values as it is
exactly.
to attract the ones that do. So your job is not to please everybody,
Right.
but to attract the people who like what you have to say and want to know more on what you have to say.
Right. That's building your clientele. And they're the ones that, you're going to have great success with. You're going to enjoy working with because they chose you based on you.
Exactly.
And people can
Exactly.
tell when you're not being yourself, especially on social media platforms and videos and lives and, all of those things when you're trying to be something else. It really shows. So everybody just has
100%.
to find what works for them for sure.
Exactly. Now, look, I'll give you another example. If you're a dog lover and you have a dog and your pet's your everything, hey, share that because you could
Yeah.
attract other people in the community that are dog lovers too, and those can be your people, and that's what you have in common. It's like a social setting. When you go out to a bar to meet somebody, you don't walk into the door and go, "Hey, I'm here. I'm John. I'm here. I showed up. Who's going to talk to me?" Nobody does that. But you go there, and what happens is you go there, you scour the room, you're looking around, right? And you place yourself where you feel comfortable. And then
Right.
all the time, you guys eavesdrop on each other's conversation, and no one's going to say, "I don't eavesdrop. That's creepy." No, no, you eavesdrop because you're listening, right? And it's just natural human thing,
Absolutely.
right? So, and what happens is sometimes somebody will say something, they feel stuck, and you know the answer. What do you happen? Go, "Hey, by the way, sorry to interrupt, but I'm so and so. I've had that happen to me before, and this is how I dealt with it. Just thought it would help. Don't mean to interrupt." And then somebody's turns around and says, "Oh, thank you. I didn't think of that." Next thing you know, you have a conversation. You met somebody new, right? It's the same. Social media is the same thing. That's why the
Yeah.
word is social. The difference is you're not listening to the person next to you. You're listening to the person on the other side of the screen. And now they're listening to you. And now you're reaching out through comments or reaching out through direct messages. You're reaching out through whether you're calling them if you see something you like. And you're finding common ground. And that's what it's about. And that's what you're doing. So when you're a dog lover and you're posting about your dog, you're trying to put out there that you're a dog lover and you're looking for people who have that common ground.
Yeah.
So then you guys can network together and then build that relationship. Because that's what this business is about relationships.
Absolutely. Relationship-based business for sure. Do you want to touch a little bit on the setting yourself up to get out of production at some point, why all these other things are important and how, it kind of all ties together too?
Absolutely, right? Like a lot of times, look, just like you don't get in, people don't wake up and, turn 6 or 7 years old and say, "Mommy, Daddy, I want to be a real estate agent when I grow up," right? That's just typically not what you get, right?
Yeah.
Yes, a lot of times, most people, real estate ends up being a second career.
Yes.
But it comes to a certain point where you've seen so many walls,
Yeah.
so many renovations, so many of the same thing over and over and over and over that you're turning around and saying, "You know what? I don't want to open up another door. I'm tired of this."
Yeah.
Right. And that's just natural progression. Because if you went 50 years and opened up doors and that's all you did, then you've never progressed. You just stayed flat. And that's okay too if that's who you are. But most people want to grow. And what happens when you get to a certain amount of deals per year? And that number is different for everybody. Some people crack after 10 deals, some people crack after 100 deals. Everyone is different. You get to a
Right.
certain point where you feel you physically can't do anymore, but your phone is still ringing and now you don't know what to do and your service starts to drop and you're no
Mhm.
longer serving your client's interest. So you got to do something about it. So that's an opportunity to expand. And the way to expand is, for example, the first hire I think anybody should do is an assistant. And just to let you know, I failed miserably at that. And so don't do what I said. Do it as I say. Don't do what I did.
Learn from your experiences.
Exactly. Second thing you should find is a buyer's agent. And the reason I'm saying that is going from house to house to house to house takes up a lot of time and a lot of running around and a lot of resources, which takes away from your ability to grow and scale. So buyer's agent should be second. I did it vice versa. Um, so you get that buyer's agent, they do the showings, then you're building out. What happens is eventually you got a well-oiled operation and a team of system that's flowing. And as that system flows, then you can focus on growing the next level and you can build and scale. You can't scale as long as you want to do everything by yourself,
Right.
right? Sometimes you got to sacrifice your personal income and use that towards the growth so you can make it up later. I again, you're going to turn it like we're not in an industry where you're like a government where you get a pension. You retire, you go home, and you get paid
Right.
every month. So I don't see a person at 65 years old going around wanting to climb stairs to show kitchens and basements and like
Yeah.
anything else. So I gotta what's the next thing? So
Yes.
you're finding ways to invest. And how do you invest? You invest in your business, you invest in properties, you invest in stocks, and growing your team is a way of investing into your business. Because at 60 years old, you could be at the office building your system and platforms and
Mhm.
growing your business and scaling that way. At 60 years old, you could go around and show houses more than likely. Again, we're in a network business.
Right.
And it comes to a certain point that you reach that certain age that your network is kind of outgrown that. And again, that's progress. I mean, there are
Yeah.
agents out there that are 70 years old still showing houses, and good for
Yeah.
them. But is that what you really want to do? Right?
Right.
Like it's exciting when you first get into the business. You're like, yeah, I'm an agent. I get to go and see other people's homes, and
Yeah.
nobody's gonna call the police. Like
Yeah.
right? Like they expect me to be there. This is great. But hey, look at me. The first 18 months in the business, I went to 4,200 homes.
Wow.
I burnt out so badly, I actually quit the business for 90 days.
Wow.
Like when I quit the business for 90 days, I didn't expect to quit for 90 days. I expected it to be permanent. Then when I found my home, like when I was looking for my own home, I had a friend of mine who I went to real estate school with, and we became agents at the same time. He was still in the business, and I got him to help me find my home. I got so charged up, I went nuts, and I mean, I'm on the phone. I'm like, yeah, call the person. Let's get on the phone. He's like sitting there going, like, yeah, I'm usually the one talking. I go, no, no, call, put him on the phone. Let's have a conversation. I got so charged up that immediately once I got my home, I went out and got my license back again. Right, and that's what refueled me to get back in. But this time
Got
I
you back
learned
in.
it did. But I learned my lesson there. Right, you gotta know where to draw that line
Yeah.
and where to stop taking everything in and realize it's time to build out. When you get to the point where you're doing 4,200 homes in 18 months, it's time to build out.
Yeah.
It's,
Can't
what
do
I mean?
everything yourself.
Absolutely. And that's the point of delegating. That's the point of building your team. You're trying to, like, again, you want to serve your client's best interest. And you can't do that if you're stretched into 10 different areas.
Right.
It's just impossible. So when you're able to build and delegate, you serve your clients better. And when you serve your clients better, your business keeps growing.
Then you can focus on your podcast and getting leads in for your team, right?
And that's exactly it, right? Like the more, and again, podcasting is about education, right?
Yeah.
Like, like as long as you can educate people, inform them, interview people who can give different perspectives on what's going on, right? Like you have so many opportunities there that at that point in time, then people want to call you because they see you as the knowledge broker. And as long as
Right.
you're known as the knowledge broker, your name is what we call your brand, right? And so as long as you're true to your brand, true to your morals, true to what you say, you build on that and you keep growing on that, and therefore your team grows on that.
Absolutely. And then, everybody, I think as they grow and they progress, they find the specific things within the real estate industry or, transitioning in that to find the little niches that make them happy, that bring them the joy. And sometimes it might not be the sales part of it.
That's true. Yeah, like
I mean, look at us. I mean,
absolutely.
we're both still, I'm still in sales and production and have a team. And I know you are as well, but we have different areas that we are passionate about.
Absolutely. Like, look, I'll flat out say it. I absolutely love the industry.
Mhm.
I hate showing homes, hence the buyer agent, but I love the industry. So why not? Again, it's about finding what are your talents and
Yeah,
what are you the best at. So be the best at what you're best at and delegate what you're bad at or what you can't
absolutely.
stomach, whichever one it is.
Yeah, whatever you don't want to do or you suck at, right? Whatever it is.
Exactly. So that's opportunity for you to, rather than letting yourself burn out or saying, oh, I want to do something different.
Yeah,
Because if you wake up miserable, you're going to want to leave the industry, regardless of how well you're doing. right? Look at what I said, 18 months, 4,200 homes, and I quit. Well, if I
Right.
went to 4,200 homes, what are the odds that I was doing bad when I quit? Right? And I obviously was doing well, and it was stressing me out. I couldn't handle it,
Yeah.
and I became miserable. When you're miserable, guess what? You want to
Yeah.
leave, regardless of the income.
Yeah, and a lot of agents think, that getting in real estate in general is gonna be, super easy, good money, and hardly any work.
Yeah, and it's actually the opposite. Christmas dinner, you're sitting at the dinner table, your phone's ringing, and it's like, you know what? You forget not everybody celebrates Christmas, right? So it's just the way it is, and that's the business.
Yeah.
It's
Or
like,
they're all out of work, so they're sitting around, looking at homes ready to go and don't wanna miss anything, and yeah, I mean, it's one of the only jobs where you're like, "Oh, I'll give up, my 9 to 5. I don't wanna work 40 hours a week. I wanna, make my own schedule, do my own thing, and end up working, 100 hours a week."
right. I quit my 40-hour a week job so I can work 100 hours of my
Yep.
choice.
We all did it or do it.
Exactly, right? And again, it comes to progress, right? Like if you look at even psychological stuff, right? Why are people depressed? Like, look, we had a pandemic. Everyone
Yeah.
talks about the day we can retire. And well, when this
Yes.
pandemic hit in 2020 and everything closed down, in some sense, that was retirement. You got to stay home. You even got some
Yeah.
government money. Some of them did, right?
Yep.
And you didn't have to do anything, right? It was like that's like living the dream. Live life the way you want to. Never have to leave your house. So why were people so depressed? I can
They're
tell you
bored.
that. Well, yeah, it comes down to being bored. But what happens is we're beings that are fueled by progress. And
Yeah.
when you're stuck at home and you lose progress, you lose purpose. And when you lose
Yeah.
purpose, you end up crawling in sticking your head in the sand and digging yourself
Absolutely.
deeper. So while you're working, maybe you're not working where you want to be, but you still see some form of progress, which is why there's still hope.
Yes. You gotta have something to work towards and, something that brings joy into your life and to see the results of what you're doing.
Exactly.
I love that. And I think that we have learned so much stuff today. And I have shared how to get in touch with John on the YouTube channel. And I'm going to share it in the post in our Facebook group when we're done here too. John, do you have anything else that you want to add before we leave today?
Um, yeah, absolutely. It's like whatever venture you do, whatever direction you want to go, is the most important thing to remember is just to keep at it, keep with your morals, keep consistent, keep looking forward, realize that it's a process, not just an objective. And you have to learn to enjoy the process because it's not short term, it's long term. I mean,
Right.
again, between 3 to 6 months, it's so easy to feel like it's not working. I don't want to do it, but you don't really see the massive results for 6 months. So it's one of those things that just keep consistent, keep tracking, because when you're tracking, you're going to discover what's working, what's not. Because if you do something, you get 40 views. You do another thing, you get 400 views. Well, look at what you did and got 400 views. What were you
Hmm.
doing that's different than the one that get 40 views? Maybe like they say, success leaves clues. So maybe the stuff that's working is giving you the clue on what you're doing right, and then repeat that. So as long as you stay focused, stay consistent, and just enjoy the process, then you just keep moving forward and keep growing.
So true. Absolutely. 100%. Well, if anybody wants to connect with John to learn more about starting a podcast, his services he offers for that, or anything else, reach out to him through his Instagram account or his website, which the links will be shared with you guys soon. And John, thank you so much for coming on today. I think everybody learned an enormous amount of stuff that they can start implementing right away. And I think that, several people will be reaching out to you very soon.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much. Bye, everyone.